Hello and welcome to the Sports Desk with me, Chris Stafford, alongside Nancy Gillen. It is March 23rd and this is episode 12 of season 4. It's Wednesday and we woke up to some really surprising news, Nancy, which has sent the sort of, well, beyond the sports world, a little bit of buzz this morning with the announcement of the number one Australian recently crowned Aussie champion, Ash Barty, announcing her retirement at the age of 25. I think it's made a few column inches and airtime this morning, isn't it, around the world, Nancy?
Yeah, it really has. I mean, I woke up and kind of checked my phone. And yeah, the first tweet I saw was from Wimbledon, like talking about the defending champion retiring. And I was just incredibly confused until then I searched Barty's name. And yeah, it's kind of one of those stories that has really, really surprised me. I think just because of the age, she's only 25, just because of the current form she's in, and I think everyone was expecting her for this year to really go on and win, stay at world number one and win more Grand Slams and more WTA titles. So I think kind of the last thing anyone was expecting for her to retire. So yeah, really, really surprising news.
It took everybody by surprise. I think the tennis world, particularly women's tennis, we've seen a lot of reactions from players around the world to her retirement. So, yeah, I think she did surprise everybody. My reaction, Nancy, I mean, it was the first thing I saw when I woke up this morning, like you. First thing I was doing was checking my phone, and it was the first thing I saw. I think I texted you right away at 0:30 this morning, and This is the news of the day for sure. But my reaction when I thought about it was good for her. She's 25. She's such a talented athlete. And we know she's a talented athlete beyond tennis, beyond what she's done with tennis. She plays cricket. She plays golf. She probably plays Aussie rules. And, so she could go in any direction if she wanted to continue to be an athlete. And I'm not so sure about that right now, because I think from what she said, she kind of wants to take a break from this. She wants to follow other dreams. But my reaction was, well, way to go. She's so talented. She's earned, I think 23 million is her earnings, total career earnings. And she's in a position to be able to say, okay, I'm going to put my racket down and I'm going to go and do something else. That's awesome. I mean, at 25, because that's how old you are, right? So are you ready to retire today or tomorrow and you're not telling me?
Well, I don't think it's that I'm not ready to retire. I think it's more that financially it would be a very stupid decision because I'd probably run out of money in about a month. But yeah, no, that is kind of one of my first thoughts as well. Just the fact that she's my age and she's already been so successful in the career that she's chosen to do, and she's in a position, like you said, to be able to retire, and the fact she's so young, I mean, she's got a whole lifetime ahead of her to pursue other avenues, and she's already done professional cricket, she's done professional tennis, and maybe she's engaged now, maybe she wants to just spend some time with her future husband, start a family, or maybe she wants to go down another sport. But it's very exciting that she can do that. She's so young and she can just pursue anything she wants to pursue. So yeah, like you, I think I was similar in that, obviously surprised, but also a lot of kind of happiness for her. And I think the general reaction on social media seems to be the same as well.
Yeah, well, just amazing adulation for her, because she really is, as you say, at 25, she's just got the whole world in front of her. And she's also established as a personality too, which could take her into, business or any other venture, even if it's outside sport. She is such an established, if you like, I hate this word for individuals, but she's an established brand, isn't she?
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, tennis, it is when they do the lists of the athletes that are kind of the most commercially viable, I suppose I say again, I don't really like describing them as that, but it is kind of what it is. And tennis has always been up there for female tennis players as one of the sports where brands really like to be involved and kind of, like to invest in female tennis players. So like you've seen, I mean, Serena Williams is still playing, but, she's got loads of sponsorship deals, loads of like kind of business ventures. And I imagine, if Barty wanted to go down that path, she definitely would have the ability to do so if she wanted.
What a lovely position to be in. So let's just recap some of her career highlights, Nancy, because there are so many. And in 2019, she became the first Australian woman or man to win Roland Garros, the French Open, since 1973. In 2021, she became the first Australian woman to win Wimbledon since 1980. And this year, she became the first Australian woman or man to win the Australian Open since 1978. And by winning the Aussie Open, she became one of just 5 active players to have won a Grand Slam title on hard court, grass court and clay court. That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, massively impressive. And I think for her as well, just winning the Australian Open kind of at the end, that, maybe if she hadn't won that, she wouldn't have retired now. I think winning a Grand Slam on home soil and the reaction to it, I know in Australia, was massive. It became one of like the most watched sporting events in Australia, and I think that is such a high to go out on. That I can kind of understand why she was like, I'm just going to leave it at this, because like you said, winning French Open, Wimbledon, all on different services, and then finally the Australian Open, it's quite a big climax, and such an incredible achievement.
Nothing like going out while you're on top. And she was one of only 6 women in the Open era to win the first 3 Grand Slam finals. She was the second Australian woman to reach number 1 in WTA rankings history. And this week, in her 113th consecutive week at number 1, the 4th longest streak at number 1 in WTA rankings history. This week, in her 120th career week at number 1, she was the 7th most in WTA rankings history. And she won 15 career WTA titles, as well as 12 doubles titles. And she reached number 5 in doubles too. And don't forget, she won a bronze medal in Tokyo too, in the mixed doubles. So she's done it all.
Yeah, she has. Like, I think maybe the USA, I was talking to someone this morning about it, and we were saying maybe, the US Open, maybe she would have stayed around and tried to compete there and kind of have the full set of Grand Slams, and maybe she could have done that. But, she obviously felt now was the right time. But aside from, she has, like you said, she's kind of thrived at every tournament, and has, such a very, full trophy cabinet to look at now she's retired.
She certainly has. We are really impacted by the surprise element of this, but it's not like it hasn't happened before. The Belgian player, Justine Henin, she was only 25 and she was world number 1 in 2008 when she retired. I know she made a comeback and she retired again, but I seem to remember that she had elbow issues, so I think that's why she had to retire. It was partly her decision to retire was because of that. And then Caroline Wozniacki, the Danish player, she won the Australian Open in 2018. She was a number 1, and she announced her retirement after the Australian Open to start a family. Now, I do remember reading somewhere that she had rheumatoid arthritis as well. But anyway, she's done what Ash has done. She got married. No, Ash is about to get married. But Caroline got married and she had a daughter last year, I recall. But then there was also Marion Bartoli. Do you remember? She won Wimbledon. And I know she was 28 then. And then she announced her retirement, which was a big surprise, the French player. And then the Italian player also came to mind, Flavia Pennetta. And I know she was 33, though, when she announced her retirement after the 2015 US Open. But, Justine Henin is comparable because she was 25 and also number 1 when she retired. So it's not like we haven't heard this story before, but this, for some reason, is even more surprising, don't you think?
Yeah, I think for me, the one I remember the most is Bartelli and Wimbledon. And that was, I remember that was because that was only, I think it was 40 days after Wimbledon. That was quite sudden. But for me, I think this is kind of the more surprising. I don't know if it's just because obviously all those other players were also dominant, but I think, like I said before, there was just that feeling that she was going to go on, and there hasn't really been an issue with injury. She has missed Indian Wells in the Miami Open because she said a lack of fitness, but it's not. There's never really been in the past couple of months like a real hint that this is going to happen. So I think maybe it's just the fact that it's kind of come out of the blue when there was a lot of expectation for her to go on and win even more this year. I think maybe is why it's so surprising.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. I did wonder when she said she hadn't sort of recovered enough from the Australian Open to come over here for these tournaments, Indian Wells and so on. While we're talking about Indian Wells and tennis, that does change. Will change the rankings, of course, now, because Iga Swiatek, who won Indian Wells, really has stamped her credentials, hasn't she, by winning that tournament?
Yeah, she has. I mean, she's been massively impressive this year already, and this is her second successive WTA 1000 title, which is obviously very hard to do. So she won Indian Wells and then in February won the Doha Open. And in her career in general, it's her third WTA 1000 title, and she's also won the French Open as well. So she already has a Grand Slam to her name. At just 20 as well, it's really impressive, and it's not just the titles as well. I think she's just been so dominant on the tour so far this year. So she was the first WTA player to reach 20 victories, and yeah, I think just she's kind of setting records left, right, and centre, and yeah, I think I'm for her now, as she after winning Indian Wells, she rose up from number 4 to world number 2. So basically, she is now world number 1 now that Barty has retired, and I'm really happy it's her, because I think sometimes the WTA rankings can be a bit funny and not necessarily reflect kind of form. But for Swiatek to be world number 1, I think is accurate given her form in the past year. And yeah, just 20 years old. I think I tweeted this. I think she's got potential to be one, like a great, like one of the players that in years to come people always remember and have multiple Grand Slam titles to her name, because she's got this confidence. She's got seems to be very kind of strong mentally and physically. And now with Barty out the way, it's kind of, she's probably going to be the favourite going into a lot of the Grand Slams on clay, because she's won the Open, but she's also proved that she can do well on hard court as well. So yeah, I think this is a massive opportunity for her now to become the best women's tennis player in the world.
I agree. And I know another one of your favourite players is Maria Sakkari, the Greek player.
Yeah.
So she's following, close on Iga's heels, isn't she? Iga's heels in the rankings. And then we've got Barbara Krejcikova and Ariana Sabalenka, Paula Badoza.
Well,
it's pretty strong, list in that, and certainly in the top 10. So this year will be very, very interesting without Ash Barty, without Naomi Osaka too.
Mm. And I mean, I know Serena Williams has been out of the conversation for a long time, but she has obviously dropped massively down the tournament. She's not around at all. Yeah, Naomi Osaka is way down the rankings. So kind of the main names that you had maybe 2019 have gone now. It's almost kind of a completely new wave of female tennis players, which is sad because all those players are great and amazing to watch, but then also exciting because there's a lot of really good talent coming through now.
I don't know if it's sad. I'm excited when there's Emma Raducanu and Leila Fernandez waiting in the wings too. A lot of amazing talent that could come through. I see that Emma is in Miami, so. Yeah, I think there's a lot to look forward to. And Emma's not in the top 10 at the moment. And then Fernandez as well. I mean, the talent goes on. So I think it's a new era. I agree with you. It's a new era.
Yeah, Coco Gauff as well for me.
Coco Gauff, yeah.
And I think it's Amanda Anisimova as well. She's the one that beat Naomi Osaka in the Australian Open. I really like her as well. I think she's 20. So yeah, they're just these players that are like 20 and under. It's ridiculous.
No wonder Ash is, it's only 25 and she's achieved what she has done. All right. Well, we're bringing you news from Miami next week, I'm sure, here on the show. But, I know Ash is not listening to this podcast, but if anybody out there does know her, wants to tap her on the shoulder, just tell her that we think she's brilliant and congratulations and only admiration for her for what she's achieved with all that talent. And she's only 25. So way to go. What a future. What a future. I wish I could have said that, Nancy. Right, what's next after 25? To be rich enough, to have the wealth, and the security, because it's all about having that security, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, to just do whatever you want. Yeah, that would be incredible.
Well, Nancy, last week saw the end of the World Cup season, as we know it. Crystal Globes were awarded, and this is going to be the last time we talk about skiing, unless we hear about some of the retirements that typically happen at the end of the season. But we'll bring you those as they happen. But going back to Courcheval, Meribel in France last week, as I said, it was the finals there, and Mikaela Shiffrin put everything right for the end of the season. And I don't know if you saw this, Nancy, but she really did put the Olympic Games behind her, because she won the overall Crystal Globe after she actually won the downhill, and she finished second in the Super G. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. Actually, again, I'm very happy for her because, like you said, she had a really, really difficult Olympics, disappointing Olympics. And yeah, great for her to come back and win that.
Yeah. Well, as I say, she won the overall, which was expected, but then she really stamped it by winning the downhill and then getting second in the Super G. Now, the giant slalom went to Italy's Federica Brignoni ahead of her compatriot Marta Bassino, and then Petra Vlhova was third. You all have heard Petra Vlhova's name a number of times this year, because then she ended up winning the slalom globe, and Sofia Goggia was already ahead with the downhill rankings, so she won the downhill globe, and the French woman Tessa Wardley won the giant slalom globe, and Federica Brignoni, who won the giant slalom rather, she actually won the Super G globe. So it was quite a change at the top in many ways in the final results of the year. Actually, I thought was quite interesting. There was a few really big changes, but Ragmo, as they call her, Ragnhild Mowinckel, the Norwegian skier, she beat Mikaela in the Super G ahead of Swiss girl Michelle Gizen, who's had a fantastic season as well. But the slalom was the biggest shock, because I think it was the first podium for Andrea Slokar ahead of the German girl Lena Duer, who's actually been doing pretty well in the rankings in the last races of the season, this latter part of the season. That was in the slalom, and then Petra was third in that. And as I said, Federica won the giant slalom. Petra was third in that too. So that pretty much wraps up our season as we know it, Nancy. So no skiing from me until the fall, unless we have some retirement news and then we hear about them going to their camps in the Southern Hemisphere during the summer.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be little snippets that we can talk about to keep you occupied before the season starts.
All right, well, we're going to jump from skiing over to horse racing now, because we mentioned last week the incredible Irish jockey, Rachael Blackmore, who, if anybody follows horse racing, will know she won the Grand National in England last year. And this year she had a fantastic Cheltenham festival too, didn't she? She won the Gold Cup. She was the first woman to do that. She won the Champion Hurdle earlier in the week. She had an amazing year last year, but this year equally as amazing. She's just getting the horses and she's giving them the best rides. It really has been fantastic to watch. I'm sure you've been seeing snippets of it over there.
Yes, I have. And yeah, I think there was a lot of hope, I think, after such a good year last year that she could kind of continue from where she left off. And yeah, she has done that. I think, winning the Gold Cup at Cheltenham, which is like one of the most prestigious events. I'm always in awe of her, I think. And we've spoken about this before in this podcast, but there's just something about when a woman wins in a mainly male-dominated sport, competing against other male athletes and winning. And yeah, Rachael Blackmore does that all the time. And I'm really looking forward to the Grand National and really hoping that she can do it again.
Yep, she's just 32 years old, and last year's victories, they were pretty amazing, but unfortunately they were all behind closed doors because of the pandemic, weren't they? So Cheltenham didn't actually open the gates to any spectators, but this time they did this year, and they had a record crowd. Not surprisingly, there were over 73,000 there. In that crowd were her family, her father and her siblings there too, cheering her on. But they'll have a lot more to cheer about with this woman's career. Let's see what happens at the Grand National, because who knows, she could make history again by winning it twice. But I'm sure you'll have all the news, Nancy. Do you put a flutter on that? I mean, do you have a little bet on the Grand National? Because I'm sure you'll be paying attention. You do?
Yeah, I do every year. And last year, for some reason, I didn't put a bet on Rachael Blackmore. And I remember as soon as she won, thinking, why didn't I do that? Not just because, she's like one of the favourites to win, but more just because as a woman in sport, I'm really confused why I didn't. I normally pick who's got like the nicest, the outfit, the shirt I like the most, to be honest, or the name I find funny. It's very uneducated guesses. But yeah, no, this year I will definitely be backing her. But last year I was just a bit silly with my choice.
All right, well, she's the one to follow now, so make sure that's where your hard-earned money goes, Nancy. Yeah,
I think it's the only downside to her doing really well is the odds on her winning are probably going to be a lot lower. Means less profit, but yeah, no, I'm definitely going to be backing her.
I bet you will. All right, some rugby news on Six Nations for us?
Yeah, so the Women's Six Nations starts this weekend. So last year it was moved. It used to take place at the same time as the Men's Six Nations, and because of COVID last year, it was moved into its own separate window. And I think they realised that it actually worked quite well, because then the Women's Six Nations got more kind of media attention and fan attention. So it's back. They've kept the idea of having it a couple of weeks after the Men's Six Nations. So yeah, it starts this weekend. As always, it's England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, France and Italy competing. And there's the brilliant news that every single match will be broadcast across each of the Six Nations. So it had been the case. Yeah, it is big news. So it's previously, I think the coverage was okay, but like you could say if you were in France, you'd probably only be able to watch France's matches as opposed to every single game. So you'd now be able to watch England and Wales. That's mainly thanks to the new partnership with TikTok, who became the first ever title partner of the Women's Six Nations. It was a month or two ago, I think they offered that. So that's kind of already helped. I think the Six Nations get this new kind of platform, and then subsequently, all the respective broadcasting companies in each country have agreed to show every single game, which is really, really great. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm not the biggest rugby fan, but I'll definitely be tuning in to it. I think especially as England will be favourites. They normally win anyway, but they've had a really, really dominant kind of past 12 months. So looking forward to hopefully seeing them winning it.
Yeah, I am a rugby fan, and I have to say one of my favourite tournaments before the women had their own Six Nations was the Men's Six Nations, and that was so exciting last week. My goodness, especially when they played Ireland. I was following it on Radio 5 Live because we had delayed live here. It was on CBS about an hour after the game ended, so I was able to watch it afterwards. I watched the second half after I listened to it on the radio. But the atmosphere watching it, there's nothing like radio, is there, for sport commentary, and the radio commentators it just sounded so thrilling. And the atmosphere at Twickenham is just extraordinary because it's absolutely packed, with crowds now. We're back to normal. So an amazing atmosphere. So hopefully the women will be able to recreate that. That'll be fun to watch. And well done TikTok for getting on board. Hey, that's good news.
Yeah, it is really good news. It's a big kind of big, I suppose, I don't know what you call it, not really a company, but kind of like a social media platform. And as well, it's kind of associated with younger people as well. So hopefully we'll get them interested in women's rugby. So yeah, good things all round.
Good things all round. All right. And good things all round for the W Series, which really is picking up momentum in motor racing for women, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And it's now building up to the next series, which starts, I believe it's in May that it starts. It actually gets underway in Miami, which is really exciting. So they've announced the full lineup of drivers. So there were 8 drivers that automatically qualified, which includes a lot of the top stars of last year. So people like Jamie Chadwick and Alice Powell. And then that left space for 9 more drivers. And we're actually going to get 5 debutantes in this year's competition, including a 16-year-old from Japan, Juju Noda. So she's going to be the youngest competitor. It's well worth reading and having a full look at the lineup. It's from a real range of countries. So you've got, obviously the UK, the USA, the Netherlands, Philippines, Czech Republic, Finland, Japan, Brazil, even a driver from Liechtenstein. So, I'm really looking forward to it getting starting again. And like you said, it's going from strength to strength. And you've got people like Jamie Chadwick getting more and more prolific. So,
yes,
the preparations for that are really starting to ramp up now.
Yeah, and when you say prolific, Nancy, they are building their brands too, aren't they, these women? They really are. Their social media numbers have increased, their media exposure has increased. They really are becoming personalities within the sport of motor racing and beyond, because they're really getting in front of mainstream media too now. Yeah,
definitely. I think as well, Jamie, the other drivers as well, they've also got the involvement in men's motorsport. So Jamie Chadwick announced this week that she's signing for another season with Williams, which is one of the main kind of companies or manufacturers
teams.
Teams. That is the correct term. Teams in F1, and so kind of their involvement with the main teams and men's motorsport and F1 as well, really kind of just, I think, helps, transfer fans from F1 over to the W Series as well. So, it's a very exciting time.
Yeah, good, very, very, very good news for them. And we'll have lots of coverage, hopefully, here on the news desk each week here at With Sports. So stay tuned. Don't forget to leave us a review or comment if you're on your podcast app. We would love to hear from you. Now, you've got news from the Champions League, too, about CBS Sports using the first ever all-female panel. So, yeah, we're getting everywhere. At long last, Nancy, our time is up. It's come.
Yeah, this was really, really cool. So this was over in the US, but it was about the Champions League, which is it was the men's Champions League. So like the big European competition over here in football. CBS Sports decided to use an all-female panel for a particular evening of Champions League coverage. So it was sometime last week. And so you had Kate Abdo presenting. You had a lot of kind of legends doing punditry, so Eni Aluko and Leanne Sanderson, and Kaylin Kyle as well, who I think is an American or Canadian, can't remember, football player. Then you had 2 women presenting pitchside, and then 4 female commentators commentating on each game. So it was completely dominated by women. It's worth, within the story, which should be in the show notes, there's like CBS have shared videos of it, and it's just quite incredible, I think, seeing so many women in the studio, and then they're going to pitch side on the screens, and there's women there as well, and it's something very powerful. Hopefully kind of sets a precedent for other networks to do the same, and just see more involvement in kind of for women presenters and pundits and commentators in sport in general, because that is definitely still an area which is dominated by men.
Yeah, for sure. Well, good for them. Yeah, and as Nancy said, there'll be a link in the show notes at withsports.com. Now, our final story this week is about something where March Madness, I think, is the correct word for it, because we do get a bit crazy for the March Madness, the NCAA tournament here. That is basketball, of course. Well, what's caught your eye on this, Nancy?
Yeah, so this is something over here in the UK which does seem a little bit like bizarre almost, because it's a university sport competition, and I do catch glimpses of this on Twitter, and it's a bit alien, I think, over here, but still really good news in terms of women's sport, because the women's basketball tournament broke a nearly 2-decade-old attendance record with 216,890 spectators. Wait, did I say that right? 216,890 spectators. Yeah, that's right. Across the 32 sessions of the first and second round games, which is really incredible. And the previous record was around 214,000. That was set in 2004. And there was also kind of with the caveat that back then they pre-selected like sites and matches to like maximize the attendance as much. Like, compared to now, I think it's just kind of more, casual, free for all. So the spectators that are coming in off their own steam. So yeah, really, really kind of incredible numbers coming to watch women's sport. I know, like I said, I'm not the most clued up on March Madness, but I know, last year there was a lot of controversy over the tournament because I think the facilities and the equipment and the resources that the women's teams were given compared to the men's team, there was a lot of disparity between them. And I think those attendance figures just proves that it's completely wrong to be treating it differently, because it's, the matches are still bringing in hundreds of thousands of people. So yeah, I think it's very, very positive news. A lot of quite good news stories this week, I think we've talked about. And yeah, it's great to see people watching women's sport.
Yeah, we certainly have. We've had not that number of stories, but what a cross-section of stories too. Some good news for women's sports all round. But no doubt the headlines will continue to be about Ash Barty announcing her retirement from tennis at the age of 25. So that's going to be our headlines this week at wissports.com. And of course, you can follow our thoughts, our comments, both Nancy and I, on social media at wissports and Nancy_Gillen and...
Yeah, so that's my Twitter handle, and my Insta is NancyGillen_sport. And then, I work for Give Me Sport Women, and our Twitter handle is at Give Me Sport W. Yeah.
Well, Nancy, what are you covering apart from Ash Barty this week?
Well, actually, exciting news. I'm going to the Emirates, which is Arsenal's main stadium this evening, because Arsenal women have their first quarterfinal first leg in the Champions League against Wolfsburg. So I'll be going to that game tonight and reporting from there, which will be really fun. And it's always great to see Arsenal women play at the main stadium. And it's always very exciting for me to be in the press box there, seeing as they're my childhood team. So the quarterfinal matches across the Champions League, the Miami Open, of course, even though Barty won't be there, there's still a lot of really, really good players. And then the Women's Six Nations at the weekend. And then I'm actually off on my holidays for a period, but I'll be going next week. I'm going to Barcelona, and I'll be going to Barcelona women versus Real Madrid women in the Champions League again at the Camp Nou. And they've sold about 85,000 tickets for that. So if all of those people turn up, it's going to be the biggest ever attendance at a women's football game of all time. So hopefully I'll be there making history. Yeah. So lots of exciting things coming up, which is good.
Yeah, making a noise too, as well as making history.
Yeah. I think it's been great. It's the first time I've ever been to the stadium as well, and it's such an iconic stadium. So I'm really looking forward to it.
That's very exciting. Well, I'm glad life is back to normal somewhat for you, and you'll be able to do that. And hopefully you'll have pictures for us, and you'll be sharing on social media, and you'll be able to talk about it when you come back on the show. So will you be with us next week, Nancy?
I won't, no. I won't. I'm on my holidays.
So when do you get back?
So I'm going to Barcelona for a week, and then I'm going to Ireland with my family for a week. So I'm away for 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay. 2 weeks without Nancy. Well, we'll see what we can do without you, Nancy. You know what we didn't mention, and I know you've been following it too, is the World Cup cricket, because England did actually beat New Zealand, didn't they, by 1 wicket. It was, but neither teams have been on great form, but this was a really, really important win in the World Cup down there in New Zealand.
Yeah, it is, and it's all quite tight. I think I mentioned last week that a lot of the results, when you look at kind of who's won what, no one, apart from Australia, no one's really doing, picking up that consistency. But yeah, a really, really important win for New Zealand. So they're not quite out of the competition, but I think it's pretty nervy, kind of England have kind of got to win like all their remaining matches. I think it's Pakistan and Bangladesh. So yeah, it's an interesting tournament so far.
Yeah, it certainly is. All right. Well, lots of great women's sports news this week. I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as we have, and we will continue to bring you that even more on social media, and we'll catch up with Nancy when she gets back. So stay tuned right here at With Sports. Nancy, have a fantastic time. I look forward to the pictures and the social media.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll make sure I'm posting regularly so everyone can enjoy it with me as well.
Terrific. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Goodbye for now.